maybe in the world, and welcome to this Stats Cafe, which looks at Nepal's experience in implementing new data integration approaches. My name is Petra Nahmias, and I'm Chief of the Population and Social Statistics section here at ESCAP, and I'm honoured to be here today to deliver opening remarks for this Stats Cafe. In today's rapidly changing and interconnected world, data integration has become a critical tool for producing accurate and timely official statistics. Data integration involves combining information from multiple sources to produce new or more informative data that can be used for statistical purposes. The integration of administrative data, survey data, and other sources of information can help fill data gaps, reduce response burden, and improve data quality. To support countries in this effort, ESCAP has developed this project, which will be discussed today, to develop and pilot a data integration toolbox customized to the Nepal context that provides tools for implementing data integration approaches for official statistics. The toolbox aims to help statistical agencies improve the quality and relevance of official statistics and to support evidence-based policymaking. In this case, it enables the integration of data from 2 administrative data agencies with data from Nepal's previous census and 1 household survey using, thus far, experimental data for 1 province. So we're very excited to be introducing and presenting this toolbox and to also be collaborating with the Nepal Central Bureau of Statistics in its further development and implementation. And we'd also like to thank the government of Nepal for very kindly working with us on this innovative project. While Nepal has made significant progress in recent years in terms of data collection and management, challenges still exist in integrating and utilizing this data for evidence-based decision-making. And this is where this data integration project comes in, as the speakers in this Stats Cafe will outline. So since we only have an hour and there's lots of material to cover, I'm going to hand over to my colleague Afsana, who will be the moderator of this Stats Cafe. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Petra. And hello, everyone, and good day. I'm Afsana Yazdani, statistician at ESCAP Statistics Division, and it is my pleasure to moderate the session today. And before starting, just a few housekeeping reminders. Please keep your microphone and camera off when you are not speaking, and feel free to use the chat box to post your questions and comments. We will go through them during the Q&A and discussion. Before, okay. So as Petra mentioned, during the session today, we get familiar with Nepal's project on strengthening the capacity to implement data integration approaches for official statistics, which involved a practical exercise of integrating multiple data sources and included capacity development activities as well. The core team of the project are here today to briefly share the experience. And for detailed information about the project, you can refer to the project report that we launch officially right now. So I invite you to see a very short video for the launch of the report. And first, let me thank the project team, whose photos you can see in this slide. And without their effort and commitment, this would never happen. So let us start the video and let me know if you cannot hear the voice. Okay, so here you can see the QR code that you can scan, and also my colleague share the link to the report in the chat box so you can have a look later. And now I would like to invite our first speaker, Dr. Jose Ramon Albert, who is the project advisor. Dr. Albert holds a PhD in statistics and is senior research fellow at the Philippines Institute for Development Studies. He is a former chief statistician of Philippines, and for over 2 decades, he has had short-term assignments in 27 countries around the world on various topics of official statistics. He also has significant experience as both a research fellow and a lecturer, and authored various technical papers and popular writings. He will provide an overview about the data integration in general. Dr. Albert, the floor is yours, and I see that you already took the controls. So please go ahead.
Thank you, Afsaneh. Namaste to friends in Nepal and good afternoon from the Philippines. I have been tasked to briefly discuss the reason why data integration is a promising approach in the production of official statistics, what data integration is about, and how data integration is performed. In the public sector, we know that data is extremely important, an extremely important tool for decision making. Statistics produced by NSOs and line ministries sourced from censuses, sample surveys, and administrative data have served as a means of auditing socioeconomic performance of countries. But traditional data collection systems are costly and have become an increasingly unsustainable business model for NSOs given declining budgets and decreasing response rates. This is also amid ever-increasing demands for new and better quality data, especially to measure success in attaining national development plans and global commitments such as the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and the Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs. We're already halfway from 2030, the end year for the SDGs, and yet we still have a number of data gaps to address. And one of these gaps is on SDG indicator 1.3.1. The proportion of the population covered by social protection floors or systems by sex, distinguishing children, unemployed persons, older persons, persons with disability, pregnant women, newborns, work injury victims, and the poor and the vulnerable. While countries have administrative data on social protection beneficiaries from beneficiary databases, but the poverty status of beneficiaries is not available in these databases. Conditions and living standards are instead collected in household surveys and censuses. Data integration provides us the opportunity to link these different data sources. As earlier pointed out, data integration is essentially about linking two or more data sets with the resulting integrated data, the sum of the data sources being greater than each one of the data sets alone. While the idea of linking data is very straightforward, this actually requires technical and institutional capacities, including coordination and resources, for instance, time, staff with technical skills for doing the linkage, and addressing issues on interoperability and quality, as well as financial resources. Data integration has potentials not only for the production of new statistics and disaggregated data that are not possible with current unlinked data sources, but also provide a mechanism to generate statistics at a more timely fashion, especially when the integrated data links censuses and surveys with administrative data. Data integration can provide insights to many previously unanswered policy questions, such as, are social protection programs covering those in need of most social assistance? Further, since no new data collection is undertaken, we effectively reduce response burden and overcome the effects of reduced response rates. Data integration is, however, not without challenges. A survey of NSOs undertaken by ESCAP identified that the primary barriers to data integration are, firstly, obtaining and maintaining access to data sources, as there are legal and institutional issues to deal with. Also, we have public acceptance and trust issues, from risks to personal privacy, ICT issues, and other managerial or resource issues, and the lack of relevant methodologies, including interoperability and other technical or methodological issues, are among the challenges faced. Data integration can include combining microdata from multiple sources as part of the creation of integrated statistics, such as national accounts, combining microdata from administrative sources with survey and traditional data, and combining new data sources such as big data with traditional data sources, among others. To provide you with more concrete cases of data integration, consider the following three specific illustrations. Firstly, consider work done by countries such as Maldives on a statistical business register. This results from integrating an economic census with company registration data, either from a Ministry of Commerce or local governments. Ideally, this could be further integrated with tax data to capture establishment life cycle events. A second example is poverty mapping done by many countries with support from the World Bank. Since surveys only give big pictures of poverty, poverty mapping yields accurate small area estimates of poverty by linking censuses and sample surveys. Specifically, regressions are done in household surveys and living standards, and then the resulting regressions are applied to censuses to identify which households are poor and which are not. This work has also been further improved by linking data also from non-traditional sources such as satellite imagery, particularly luminosity. The Asian Development Bank has released results of some work with NSO of Thailand and the Philippine Statistics Authority on this. Consider a third example, which is similar to the work in Nepal, the work done by Statistics New Zealand in developing a large database of anonymized data on more than 9 million people in New Zealand pertaining to benefits and social services, education and training, health, housing, income and work, justice, peace, migration, and other demographic information. This integrated data infrastructure resulted from integrating records on people from censuses, sample surveys, and administrative data compiled by government linked by names, sex, age, and location. A similar task was undertaken by the Australian Bureau of Statistics. We did, as I mentioned earlier, similar work on integration at the micro level with Nepal data sets. So how exactly is this done? This involves 5 steps. The first 2 steps involve securing the required data sets to be integrated and pre-processing the data to ensure that the variables across the data sets observe common standards. The main step, the third step, is to compare records across data sets, considering the aim of determining the true match status of each record pair through linkage methods that give a linked status assigned to each pair. While we would ideally like to link only a true match and not link non-matches, unfortunately, we also encounter false positives and false negatives. Allow me to illustrate this with this. If we are strict about name matching, John Black is not John Block, but there could be misspelling. Birth might also be misrecorded. Two addresses may be possible for one person if he or she has 2 residences. So ultimately, when faced with 2 records, the question is, should we link or not link these 2 records? Are these information pertaining to the same person? And we will be needing to decide on where to link or not to link through a record linkage approach with either a deterministic matching, which uses some unique identifier for linking across data sources or across time, or second, statistical matching, which makes use of variables common across databases to assess the likelihood that the 2 records are matching. My colleague Hossein may give more details later. And the final step, of course, would be to assess the quality of linkages and non-linkages, partly by examining whether statistics from unlinked sources are not too far away from the resulting integrated statistics. I defer more discussions to my other colleagues in the Stats Cafe. Thank you very much, and this ends my talk.
Thank you so much, Dr. Albert, for giving a general view about data integration. And I think that we are now ready to see how these were implemented in Nepal's project. So colleagues, if you have any questions or any comments, please put them in the chat box. Our next speaker is Mr. Ramhari Geire, who is the national consultant of the project. Mr. Ram has over 20 years of experience working for the Central Bureau of Statistics and has been involved in various regional projects related to official statistics. He will briefly describe the data integration practical exercise in Nepal. And I think that you have already taken the control, Ram. So the floor is yours. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Afsane. Good afternoon. Namaste from Kathmandu, Nepal. As Dr. Albert mentioned before, now we work for 4 data sets for data integration practice pilot work in Nepal. The 4 data sets are Poor Household Identification Survey of 2013 that is carried out by Ministry of Land Management, Cooperatives and Poverty Alleviation. And another one is benefits.
Sorry, Ram, for interrupting. We are on slide number 7. Could you please move to your slide? You need to use the small arrow at the bottom of the page. If you click on the small arrow.
But my slide is not moved here in my screen. But I can
okay.
Let
me take the control back.
Yes.
And all right, just give me a second. Okay, so colleagues, could you confirm that you see the data sources used for data integration? All right, so Ram, if you want, you can take the control and move. Otherwise, I can do it for you. You just let me know when I should move to the next. Okay, all right.
Okay, it's done now.
Yeah.
Okay, the other 2 sources were National Population and Housing Census carried out in 2011. It's a bit old now because we didn't get the new census data available at the time of data integration. And another data set that we considered for the integration was Nepal Living Standard Survey. That was also carried out in 2010-11 by Central Bureau of Statistics, now National Statistical Office of Nepal. And for this Poor Household Identification Survey, so this is the first round of survey. So we took, there were 26 districts in the first round of survey that households were interviewed, almost all households of the 20 districts. So paper and pencil interview survey method was adopted. Household level information is available for that survey. Proxy mean test tool based on comparable living standard survey was adopted for this PMT scoring. So altogether, 1.2 million, more than that, households were interviewed. There were 215 variables. It's a large data set. So data from 3 districts was used in this integration, as only 1 province data was used for the integration. Gorkha, Tanu, and Bagnu districts were done there. Another data set was beneficiaries list of social security allowance. That is the recent one, 2022. So it has a list of beneficiaries of 12 districts from Gandaki province. So information was collected from the local level, because there are 3 levels of government in Nepal. Local level preserves, keeps and updates the information on this. So there were 8 types of social assistance program incurred in this beneficiaries list. Some 330,000 beneficiaries were mentioned. So almost 9 years apart from this Poor Household Identification Survey data, unfortunately, to be integrated. So it is linked with this Poor Household Identification Survey data because it is not in line with, although it is not in line with the survey year with the beneficiaries list. For National Population and Housing Census 2011, So it's a census of each and every household of Nepal, but we consider only one province, as I mentioned before. So for this, we utilize the variables to create asset index from the ownership of households, and there were 12 indicators, variables that we used to create the asset index. Similarly, welfare index was also created using another 12 welfare indices collected in the census to make it comparable with our poor household identification survey welfare information. So wealth index is created using unweighted mean of asset index from using the census data. Data preparation from multiple sources is another problem. So the unique identifier was not available in our data sets because national ID number, citizenship number, voter ID number, mobile phone number were not included in most of the data sets available. So name of the individuals were available for some of the indicators, but they were available at the lowest geographic level, at a ward level in Nepal's case. So using other variables such as sex, age, ethnicity, marital status, level of education, etc., were used for the integration of these data sets. For these data sets. So for 2013 poor household identification survey and poor national household census, they could not be compared using the name because they didn't have name. So we use other candidate variables for this comparison. So before going for data integration, the painstaking and most time-consuming job was data cleaning. So for unique identifiers, we tried to make some unique label at the lowest possible of ward level. So quality of the job, especially done by the enumerators and data entry, makes important steps for combining data sets because there is some mismatches in the names of the individual. So that cannot be directly linked with another data sets. So proper knowledge about data sets is required before combining the data sets. So it requires lots of work before going for data integration project. So the concept, definitions, class codes and classifications need to be same, comparable with another data set to make it more comparable onto another. So variable of interest were the 4 categories of poverty: extreme poor, mid poor, and general poor. There were 3 poverty classification and non-poor. So there were 4 in fact in our poor household indicator survey data. So our beneficiary list, there are 8 types of beneficiary allowance: senior citizens for Dalit group, widows, single women, children from disadvantaged groups, fully disabled, severely disabled, indigenous nationalists were the groups. Their poor status needs to be identified using the this integration process. So poor national population and housing census has a general data set that is it collects socioeconomic information as usual. And NLSS 2010-11 is a multi-topic survey, especially per capita consumption and poverty incidence variable were used from this. For the limitation of this project is there were neither the common unique identifier variables nor the sizable number of common characteristics were found in social security data and poor household identification survey. Sorry?
Ram, we are on the slide on data cleaning. So I think that you have moved to next slide, but we cannot see it here.
I think, yes, okay. Data cleaning, sorry. It didn't work. I couldn't move it. I think that is done now. I should go to limitations of pilot integration.
Can you move please to the next one because it's not moving. If you are clicking, no, it's not moving. I couldn't
take a control. It doesn't work here.
Okay, let me take the control.
Okay.
Okay. Now it's working. Now we are on the limitation. Thank you.
Okay. So for these limitations, one of the most important factor that we mentioned before is the unique identifier availability of this. That was not available in our none of the data sets. So we could not get the latest census data because there would be a very good match with our social security data 2022 and census 2021, but it was not available for the public launch. So it could not be done. So NLSS 1011 has a very few observations in our data sets. So we see the less potential for the data matching. And the reference periods, definitely, as I mentioned before, there is a huge gap. So we manage somehow to make it comparable. This is the one. The way forward. So for the way now, we should keep the database in standard codes, classification, and definitions for interoperability, because different agencies of National Statistical System needs to be aware and preserving the data in standard format. And this is in the future or promote for collection of unique ID for upcoming census and survey data. Most likely, we are having a new national ID number. Hopefully, when the coming census and survey, we'll have this information, which will be definitely facilitate the data integration process. Encouraging national statistical agencies, NSS agencies for utilization of information using the data integration process. This is a pilot one. When we have another process that can be utilized mostly, find the different indicators required for Nepal's priority indicators, and ensure the confidentiality and privacy concerns of the data sharing is very important, because every individuals, every agencies were concerned about their privacy of the individual data, and there is a need for establishment of stable mechanism data sharing among agencies of NSS. Only then data integration process can be done, because single data provider cannot have all the information. So there needs to be a good coordination among different agencies, which can promote a better result after data integration. That's all from my side. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ram, for sharing the experience. I think that at some points we missed the slide that you were talking on it. So I just moved to the slide on way forward for participants to have a look on the items that you mentioned. This data integration exercise in Nepal and the experience and lessons learned can be beneficial to other similar data integration exercises, either in Nepal or other countries. And as I mentioned earlier, you can see the detailed information in the report that the link is already shared in the chat box. So colleagues, if you have any questions or any comments, please put it in the chat. We will discuss them later during the Q&A and discussion. Now, I should invite our next speaker, Dr. Hossein Hassani, the project IT consultant. Dr. Hassani holds a PhD in statistics and is an accomplished data scientist with over 15 years of extensive experience in national and international organizations and research institutes and academia as well. He has published more than 200 journal papers on various topics and received several awards for his contributions, including the Outstanding Contribution Award from the Chinese Academy of Science. He developed the IT toolbox for the Nepal project and will now present about the data integration and the toolbox. So, Dr. Hassani, the floor is yours, and please take the control.
Thank you very much, Afsane, for the short introduction. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, colleague, participant from around the world. I hope you can hear me very well. Afsane, please, could you confirm? Thank you. Let me start by thanking my colleague from Nepal by inviting us to be in the country to implement the project and gain experience from them. But I would like also to experience my special gratitude and thank to ESCAP for inviting me to be part of this innovative project. I'm sure you know that doing this project, there are many colleagues that they are involved. Some of us we are presenting today, but I should mention also our colleague, Mr. Roth, who has contributed a lot during this project, and also colleague in Nepal like Ms. Muni and other colleagues that significantly improved the quality of the work that we were doing as well. So let me just share with you, I budgeted 10 minutes to go over of this task, and also to share with you the output of the project, which is a toolbox that kindly mentioned by or in opening remark by Ms. Petra. Looking at what we are trying to achieve during the project, couple of things that we need to consider about the toolbox should be flexible, that we can everybody can use it. So that was one of the challenge that we discussed thoroughly. Therefore, we come up with a lots of solution, and one that we use for this particular task to use an R code that they can use it, but at the same time to be able to prepare an app toward that can be easily implemented and used by other colleagues that they don't know any information about such as this programming. Also, when we look at the commercial, of course, software, there are many software, but this kind of aspect was quite important for us as well. And then we can easily use it, we can scaling up, and also we can change. At the same time, data quality is quite important for us, and I will tackle a couple of these issues about the data quality, as mentioned by my colleague in the previous presentation as well. At the same time, are we able to automate some of these tasks? And then the answer was yes. Here I present the general overview of the toolbox. You will see that we have various parts. I will go over each of them, each section, and also each part, that how we can perform data integration and how we adopted this toolbox for the official statistic, particularly for the use of Nepal case. And I'm pleased to inform you that we have used 3 different database and data sets with different structures. Some of them we have character, we have the name, some of them we do not have the name, and that's, that bring lots of challenges. But please to inform you, we overcome to these challenges. One of the key aspects for any tools that we know, uploading the data is one factor, but uploading the data description, like metadata, we know that is quite important for the official statistics. What we have done with these tools, we can separately upload the metadata that is associated with the data as well. And these data and metadata could be separately, could be the number of metadata if you have for one file less or for the other file more. It could be done easily with this toolbox. This was quite important because during the various meetings that I was participating in over the last 10 years, during the finding a standardization for the official statistic with the UN and also OECD, this metadata has been always one of the big issue for any project. So we have one particular section for the metadata here. Let me share with you the data summary. Of course, we have data summary everywhere. We can add a descriptive statistic, but one of the key elements that we emphasize here is the missing data. You know that if you want to link to record from 2 databases, the number of missing data is quite important. So we emphasize on this. But also what we have done here, when we have various databases, it's quite important to look at the cross-sectional aspect of the missing data. And therefore, we come up with some innovative solution to bring like a graphical aspect of the cross-sectional data. You could see which various level of the database, and also the number and the frequency that has missing data. So when you are linking either deterministic or probabilistic, or also machine learning approach, you will see that which level of the missing data that you have in order to achieve the successful result. Let me share with you the blocking variable that we have. So in terms of blocking variable, that that is quite important because it, of course, is cover the deterministic approach, but at the same time gives you the accuracy of the data. My colleague mentioned that they will have soon an ID for that, but for this particular project, we didn't have such an ID. But using other attribute as a blocking variable, we were able to bring to the level of the accuracy that we wanted. Looking at the criteria, what kind of blocking variable, of course, we need to consider. We need to look at the size of data. By blocking, you can reduce the size of the data. At the same time, you look at the quality of the data. You are ensured that I want to have the 100% accuracy for that, and that's my blocking variable. It could be gender, it could be and all age I mentioned here, because I would like to emphasize that two databases that we have, the gap difference between two databases was about 10 years. So that was important as well to bring it. And such a this important issue and matter is quite important for blocking the variable as well. And for the blocking variable, some of them could be, say, deterministic, some of them could be probabilistic, and also some of them could be some database that we have here. We have names, some of them we didn't have the name. So we should cover, and we already covered for this toolbox such a this important element. But if we do blocking, it's 0, 1. However, what we did in this project, we give the flexibility more to the user, that they can use some of the thing using the, say, the limit that they would like to have. But before that, let me share with you the weighting approach. When we are doing the blocking, it's quite important for you to understand to what extent you can have this similarity. Is it 90%, 95%? Of course, there are various formula. I put something very simple here, that you look at the similarity aspect, the length of the common, say, text, or it could be number, could be date of birth that my colleague mentioned in the previous. But at the same time, the user would like to have the flexibility. They would like to have this chance that they can play with this data. And they would like to have the flexibility, like a confidence interval, like a level of acceptability that user can choose. They can say, I'm okay with the 75%, I'm okay with the 90%. So to do that, we have already implemented such a this aspect as well. While you are doing the deterministic or probabilistic, but at the same time, you are able to use some acceptability level as well. And that depends on the user, depends on the project, and depends on the data that you have. And that has been already implemented in this toolbox too. So in terms of linked data, after you link the data, yeah, you could have two databases differently. Just wanted to mention one thing here, and thanks to the colleague during the training that they mentioned as well. Some user would like to see the data separately to install, but at the same time, you can have a chance to look at each record from two databases at the same time. Then you can compare these two. In this, for example, figure, you will see that the age difference sometimes is 9 years, 10 years, and that's back to the two baseline that we had, and the difference between two baseline. And that gives you more confidence, more accuracy for the data as well. Then you can verify this. But at the same time, the user can go and check if the data are correct or not in each database. So more accuracy element, there are various measures to look at the accuracy, but at the same time, we produce some table that you can see the accuracy, and also we match it with the map as well. So they can look at the map at the same time. So that gives you more extra information, usability, at the same time, visibility of the data. So in addition, I would like to mention that one of the key aspects of any data integration is producing new database. Are we able to produce database? Particularly for the Nepal case, the answer is yes. We have various database, as my colleague mentioned, 3 different databases, but merging and integrating 3 different databases, we were able to produce new database. Some of them 10 years ago, some of them just a year ago, but we were able to produce new database. And the output here, I'm just sharing with you, my colleague mentioned that we created a wealth index. We are able now to give a policy, because one of the the aspect that we mentioned in introduction by Ms. Petra was this kind of approach. One of the major important output is to be used for the policymaker as well. And you could see here that I'm pleased to share with you that we are able to inform the Nepal government that what they do for the poverty from various parts of the country, they are doing a quite great job, because with the new data that we have here, we could see various poverty with the different database that we have. And that has been confirmed during the training. So the answer for the data integration to producing new database is yes. I'm finished my 10-minute budget, and with your kind permission, I leave the other discussion you might have to answer any question. And with this, I will go to the Q&A, and all the team, I'm sure, we would be more than happy to take any question that you might have. Thank you, Afsana. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Hossein. And just a very brief explanation of the project. As my colleagues already mentioned, that this was a project that ESCAP worked closely with NSO Nepal and two other agencies to define a project, an exercise, a practical exercise of data integration. And we together took all the steps from convincing data holders to share their data and accessing the data, and then pre-processing the data, doing the record linkage, and producing statistics from integrated data. And this was an exercise. And as my colleagues mentioned, it was only limited to one province. So this is something that needs to be upscaled, and also they will have the capacity to duplicate this project for other purposes. And we also had a capacity building activity, which was a workshop that I just shared the link in the chat box. So I hope that we have been able to somehow share some of our experience and lessons learned so far. And now it is time for the Q&A. Could you go back to the previous slide, Hossein? Thank you so much. So now it is time for Q&A and discussion, and I would like to open the floor for audience. And I would ask my colleague to open the microphones of everyone. If you want to take the floor, you can raise your hand, or you can put your questions in the chat box. Just one question that we had from the registrants. Let me start with that one, and then I can see that some colleague has put something in the chat, and then we will go to that. Okay, so the question that we had from the registrants during the registration was about the key enablers and barriers for data integration in Nepal. So I invite Ram to reflect on this question. Ram, you're muted. Please unmute.
Okay, thank you, Afsana. Thank you so much. There was one question related to the limitations and advantage of this data integration project. What are the enablers and what are the barriers? In fact, while starting the project, we started from the zero. So we had an inception workshop. So we identified the data sets. What are the data sets that can be considered for integration? Based on the suggestion from different agencies of National Statistical System, we came out to the 4 data sets that I mentioned before. Now, out of 4, we in fact utilized 3: Poor Household Identification Survey, Social Security Allowance Database, and census 2011. The limitation was there was a reference period differences. So census was carried out in 2011, poor household identification survey of 2013, and our social security is the latest one, 2022. So this was one of the limitations. If we had been able to get the access to new data, census data, that could have been more informative. So this is one limitations. Another one limitations are in our national statistical system, there is a lack of awareness in data integration projects. So we are not very much aware. This can solve some of the data gaps and data duplications that persist in Nepal's national statistical system. Another one is the coordination between different statistical agencies. So we don't have that much practice of coordination. So it has just been started. So that needs to be expedited. And pre-experience of individual microdata is very much crucial, and everyone is very much concerned about the confidentiality and privacy of their datasets. So these things, among these things, we have some, we could get some results because there are some new opportunities as well. So we have a new Statistics Act in 2022. This has provisioned to have access to raw data sets to the National Statistical Office from other agencies of the national offices. So in the future, it won't be that much difficult to have access on this. So NSO itself has been now upgraded to secretary level. So the head chief statistician has the somewhat good coordination among other ministries and departments. So this is one advantage for the future one. So, but the same time, sample surveys, however, has not been that much updated as we plan every 5 years, but they are not carried out in a regular basis. This is another thing that gives rise to data integration. So another is among MIS, among national statistical agencies, is not that much advanced till now. So we need to still go for data integration. So these are the areas which motivates us to go for data integration. And another most important part is the data for planning, especially in 2008, Nepal has been restructured as Federal Republic. So there are 3 tiers of government: federal government, provincial government, and local level. So everyone has the right to have a planning. They are planning. So there is a high demand, there is high scope for data requirement, because there are some other requirements as well, because our periodic plan, our annual budget, annual policies, and international commitment, SDG indicators. So all of them demand more data, more indicators. For that, our censuses and surveys could not suffice, could not provide all. So data integration is a useful tool for us. If we can properly utilize it in the future, hopefully, we'll get a better situation then. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ram. And one question in the chat box from Sudobe, that she asks that how do you check if the results from new database give us the true and correct indexes or demographic measures? So maybe Hossein, would you like to take?
Yeah,
and
sure.
I will also later invite other panelists.
Sure. Thank you, Sudobe, for the question. In order to reply to your question, my immediate answer would be there are several measures that we can consider for this, as we did it for the toolbox as well. When we integrate data, as shown, we have the 2 database exactly line by line together. So the first immediate answer would be we have a couple of statistical measures to look at in terms of accuracy and also in terms of precision. And typically we use F measure to look at the accuracy as well. And also, as you can see, we have some acceptability level. So as a user, you could say, I'm quite confident if we have a data with above 99% in terms of accuracy, or sometimes it would be, let's say, 75%. The other thing that we did, particularly for this project, you could see that we link to database. At the same time, they have different structure, and also demographic aspect of these 2 databases are different. For example, one poverty, the other one was census. And you could see that while they are covering different aspects, different survey, we could see that not only we could merge them, but also we look at the accuracy of these two databases as well. So that's two aspects of that. The other thing is the policy aspect of that as well. In the case of Nepal, we have two different agencies, part of the organization, that they cover two things. One is the poverty, and the other one when we look at the census data as well. When we merge these two data sets, we come up with a new database as I presented to you. Of course, that's a sample, and we look at the privacy issue that we could come up with a sample that the user and the identifying on the person are not visible to everyone, but we could see that the result of the data integration is in line with those that the government each separately presented. And that has been confirmed during the meeting. That's three different characteristics and the criteria that I could mention in order to reply to your answer. So one is a statistical measure that we have. Second is the data integration accuracy that we have. Third is the user also that could be part of the second one to verify the data, and the more comprehensive one is the looking at each organization or institute or part of the governance body that is the result is according to their policy and also data that they publish as well. And I'm pleased to inform you that in the case of Nepal, the results were in line, and that has been confirmed during the training mission. Back to you, Afsana.
Thank you very much, Hossein. Toots or Ram, do you want to reflect on this question as well?
Yeah, I think I think I saw also on the chat box another similar question raised by somebody from Laos, Mr. Fusavan, who is asking how does the data sources, when you're getting aggregated results, you'll have accuracy issues. The whole point is that if you're looking at the unlinked data sources, the original data sources, they have key statistics. So for instance, if you're looking at, let's say the census, you may have some key statistics on the census. We only worked with one province, by the way, but let's say you're looking at some indicator like the percentage of households who have access to safe water or something or whatever. And you look at the unlinked data source, what is the value? And then you look at the linked data source. Of course, there might be very many possible linked data sources. We're only looking at the so-called intersection database, what's common to both. But you could also have what's known as, there could be many kinds of integrated databases, by the way. But suppose we were just looking at the intersection database. So what happens when you are merging, when you're merging the two or more data sets? So what you need to do is try to figure out if the statistics also from the integrated data sets will be more or less similar, to what you had from the unlinked data source. So roughly that would be a quick way of determining whether we have gotten more or less the same kinds of results.
Thank you so much, Toots. I can see one hand, Josh Breer from ABS. Would you like to ask your question?
Hello, everybody. Can everyone hear me?
Yes,
some of
we
you
can
may be
hear
able to see
you.
me. Lovely. Thank you. Good evening from Melbourne, Australia, all the way at the bottom of the planet. And namaste to all the friends in Nepal. As someone who studied in Nepal, very excited to hear it. I love it when stuff goes well for the country. It is forever in my heart, and I want to go back very soon. Sort of two speculative questions for you. Going forward, you mentioned obviously us and the New Zealanders have the data set model, which you've sort of gone very close to. Is the intention that if you can roll this out throughout Nepal across all the provinces, that you'll get something similar to our data lab programs for researchers to use? And then the second half of that is obviously knowing the terrain and just the level of infrastructure sometimes throughout Nepal, a similar problem that we actually have in Australia is remoteness of people. And I know we've had to expend quite a lot of money at a government level to reach people for accurate statistics. What would be some challenges and ways you would overcome that in Nepal, getting to remote communities to accurately reflect those statistics so you can get the best integration program possible?
Thank you so much, Josh. And maybe we start with Toots and then Ram. We
Well,
move to
thank
you.
you very much. Yeah, thank you very much for that question. Indeed, the whole idea is this was just a test case. You know, we wanted to make sure that it would work in one province, one large province. But we are hoping that now that we showed a case that it works. So now the people in Nepal can actually, the NSO of Nepal could work together with its data partners to upscale. Of course, that's the whole idea, that we're trying to show them that this would be a good model to use for you know, to be able to generate more statistics. I understand your point too, that you know, for very remote areas in the Philippines, you call them geographically isolated and disadvantaged areas. There are usually problems because, you know, you may have, even if you sample from a survey, they may be very few that you sample, and in a way you do not have reliable statistics. So that is why we hope that by showing this test case, that Nepal can start working on possibly doing further data integration practices. Of course, ABS and New Zealand, Statistics New Zealand, you're way ahead of many NSOs. But I hope that whatever experiences that have been learned by countries like yours, you can be able to share more experiences with the developing countries, who can learn more from whatever even problems that you might have encountered in the past. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Toots. Ram, would you like to add anything?
Thank you, Afshan. Thank you, Josh, for the questions. I think you raised the questions on diverse situation. How do you ensure whether this one province data integration can be a model for the whole country? I believe that in the beginning, but we know that we have a limitation. I already mentioned before, because of the reference period differences and a bit old data set that we had to use. But for the coming days to come, we can choose. We will be free to choose whichever which data sets can fit more. So in that scenario, it may work well. But in one case is, if the data set is collected from the central level, especially from national statistical offices and offices where there is a control of statisticians, the data quality are definitely better. We have experience on that. Those agencies where there are not administrative statisticians positions, in that scenario, we suffer some problem in data cleaning part. Data quality issues are there. But in the beginning, we worked for the household survey carried out by the Central Bureau of Statistics, National Statistical Office, and census also carried out by National Statistical Office. And in poor household identification survey, that is also led by statistician. But at the same time, we have social security allowance databases that is carried out by some administrative research person. So we can see distinct differences between those who take over, who lead on the collection of the data sets. So that data quality matters. In the days to come, we'll think, consider much about the reference period, about the data quality, and the issues of now data preservation, the way that the data administrative records are kept, that need to be improved in the coming days. Hopefully, our data integration project process will work better. Thank you.
Thank you, Ram. And there is one question in the chat. Maybe we should consider it as the last question because we are running out of time. And I would like to invite Hossein to reflect on that. And please keep it short. Thank you, Hossein.
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, first of all, I'm very happy to see lots of questions, and that shows that data integration is quite timely project and the issue for any official statistic, as the target was. And to mention about the data quality and the data processing, yes, any data integration that we do, as we mentioned, data quality is quite important. We should do some processing in order to have the database at the same level that we would like to have for data integration. And these attribute, or let's call it variable, which is obvious to everyone, we need to look at, say, for example, the naming issue. And then we will have a when we translate the name from Nepalese to English or using the Nepali, sometimes the naming would be different. And also the word number for some database on the province coding could be different from one database to other database. That could be different from each one. But those should be done before any data integration. But back to your question that you mentioned, can we do this with the tools box? Yes, the answer is yes. That's one of the good, I could say that opportunity and also advantage of such a this toolbox is the user, of course, they are familiar with the coding. They can implement all of this in the toolbox, and that could be tailor-made for that to bring all the data processing that and my colleague, for example, Ram and other colleagues, they did it to bring it to the toolbox to make it automated. That's why one of the keyword that I mentioned is automation. This toolbox has been provided that such a way that they can be automated any procedure and any part that has been with the data quality. So to your question, both answer is yes. Data quality and pre-processing is quite important and can be part of this toolbox, and the toolbox can be tailor-made not only for the Nepal, for the other project as well. Part of your question was for the other project. Yes, we can use it for other project. We can change those base of the database, and also we can change the feature for the app because they can. This toolbox is like an app and toolbox, and they can change the coding. They can prepare this, but at the same time they can use it for the changing the naming. I would like to talk more about this, but as instructed, I'm short in time and sorry for it, but I hope that I was able to reply to your question. Back to you, Afsana.
Thank you so much, Hossein. I just want to clarify that the current toolbox has been developed for the exercise that we mentioned here. And as Hossein mentioned, that the person who knows the coding can somehow adjust the current toolbox for the other projects, other similar projects, as well as for adding the data cleaning to it. Yeah, thank you so much, Hossein. And now it's time for our final speaker, Mr. Rishiram Sigdal, for concluding remarks. Mr. Sigdal is the director of the training section of the National Statistics Office of Nepal, and he has been the project focal point since the beginning, and his commitment and very kind support has been invaluable to the project. And Mr. Sigdal has almost 20 years of experience in official statistics and has contributed to several academic literature on various topics related to official statistics. Thank you so much, Rishi. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Afsani. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Thank you very much. Okay, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. First of all, let me take this opportunity to extend my sincere thanks to the ESCAP for selecting Nepal as pilot country for the data integration project. Special thanks goes to Petra, Afsane, and other colleagues from the ESCAP for their hard work and continued support to bring this project to a meaningful end. Without their support and effort, we could not have arrived to this end. Similarly, I must thank to our stakeholders who have provided necessary databases and participated in the workshop and trainings very actively. I am no less thankful to our stakeholders, especially the Department of National ID and Civil Registration and Ministry of Land Management, Cooperatives and Poverty Alleviation. We started this project almost 1 year ago. During this period, we have had series of virtual meetings, inception workshop and training. In the meantime, a mission was also conducted by ESCAP experts to facilitate the technical briefing to the relevant stakeholders, NSO staffs, and core team of the project for the further advancement of the project. All these efforts bring us to the end of the project, impairing very important insights in the field of data integration. As we all agree, measuring national and international development agendas are possible only with the help of timely generated statistics. On the other, producing quality statistics is quite expensive in terms of cost, time, human resource, and materials. In addition, traditional way of collecting data not only demands expensive inputs, but also increases the respondent burden. Therefore, seeking the best alternative way of finding various statistics is indispensable. One of the best solutions of finding such alternative ways to implement data integration. We already have many data sources such as censuses, surveys, administrative records, big data, and many more. But they are scattered around so that many indicators are not made available for policy and planning process. Data integration could be a solution that would produce very valuable information with nominal disposal of resources. Therefore, Nepal is trying to implement data integration as a pilot project and got lots of opportunities to learn about data demand, data gaps, potential data sources, and the possibility of getting some indicators using data integration. The program has also highlighted the importance of collaboration and partnership between different stakeholders in implementing data integration approaches. In fact, we have learned a lot, and I hope this learning could be a good reference to other countries as well. The program has emphasized the need for strong data governance frameworks and data protection policies to ensure the data integration efforts are conducted in an ethical and responsible manner. In my observation, if we could have used personal identification number in census surveys and introduced it in service record keeping system, the data integration would be simple. However, in the absence of such identification number, a probabilistic matching would help to generate a bigger database than ever. The project has demonstrated the potential of data integration approaches in driving Nepal's development agenda and achieving the sustainable development goals. By enabling better data-driven decision-making, data integration can help to address complex development challenges, improve service delivery, and promote inclusive and sustainable growth. In case of Nepal, this is not the end, but a turning point for developing alternative way of finding various statistical indicators. I hope we all collaborate, coordinate, and commit in this matter and contribute in the advancement of the data production system that would save valuable and limited resources and also saves the important time of our respondents. Overall, the program has provided valuable insights into Nepal's experience in implementing data integration approaches and understanding the opportunities and challenges associated with these efforts. I hope Nepal will continue to advance its data integration agenda. It's important to build on these experiences and to continue to collaborate and innovate to unlock the full potential of data in driving the country's development. With this note, let me congratulate all team members for the successful tenure and logical end of the project. Once again, thank you ESCAP, thank you Petra, thank you Afsane, and thank you all colleagues for your active participation in the program. Thank you very much.
Thank
Afsane,
you so much, Rishi. Thank you very much, Rishi, for very kind remarks. And thanks to all participants for a very active and lively Stats Café session. Thank you for staying with us, although we are over time. And thanks to all speakers and panelists and everyone. So my colleague shared the link to the report. And please feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions or you need any further information. And I should also thank my colleagues who helped with the administrative work and also with this Stats Café. Have a very nice day, evening, night, and wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.